If they are meant for you, it won't feel warm. It will feel narrow, quiet, dangerously clear. Most people believe destiny arrives wrapped in comfort. It doesn't. It arrives as pressure, as subtraction, as a moment where everything unnecessary falls away, and what remains scares you. Watch what happens when you withdraw. Not dramatically, not to be noticed, but deliberately. You stop initiating. You stop filling silence. You stop proving value to people who never earned access to it. And something uncomfortable happens. The space exposes intent. Most people cannot survive distance. They confuse connection with proximity. They require constant signals to feel secure. When those signals disappear, so do they. Not because they were busy, because they were feeding. Withdrawal is not abandonment, it is calibration. It shows you who was there for you, and who was there for what you provided. The wrong ones react immediately. They question, they accuse, they demand explanations they were never entitled to. Distance feels like punishment to them because access was leverage. Without it, they feel powerless. So they lash out, or they leave. Both responses reveal the same truth. They were not aligned, they were attached. The right one behaves differently. They don't chase, they don't pressure, they don't fill the gap with noise. They adjust. They understand that space is not rejection, it is structure. It is a boundary being tested, not a bond being broken. They remain present without being invasive, visible without being desperate, calm without reassurance. Isolation strips away performance. There is no audience, no momentum, no emotional currency being exchanged. Only intention remains. This is why isolation works. It removes all incentives except alignment. Those who stay do not stay because they are afraid to lose you. They stay because your direction matches theirs. Withdrawal also does something else. It returns your attention to yourself. You stop leaking energy outward. You stop negotiating your standards in private. You become harder to read, more grounded, less available. This shift unsettles people, not because you changed, but because you stopped compensating for them. When you are no longer constantly present, others must confront their own motives. Some realize they never knew you, only how you made them feel. Others realize they were never chosen, only accommodated. The one meant for you does not fear this moment. They recognize it because they are doing the same thing. They don't need constant access to trust you. They don't interpret space as threat. They understand that separation can strengthen position. That two self-contained individuals move with more precision than two people clinging in confusion. Isolation is where illusions die, but alignment survives. And if someone disappears when you step back, understand this. They didn't lose you, they lost their role. Then you reduce your words, not to punish, not to manipulate, but to observe. You stop narrating your thoughts. You stop clarifying intentions. You stop rescuing others from their own assumptions. And the silence does something violent. It forces truth to speak. Most people are uncomfortable without constant explanation. They need reassurance disguised as conversation. They want access to your inner world so they can predict you, control you, or feel safe around you. Silence threatens that comfort, so they react. The wrong ones always reveal themselves here. They demand clarity they haven't earned. They ask questions not to understand, but to stabilize themselves. Your quiet feels like disrespect to them because it removes their influence. They press, they probe, they escalate emotion to provoke response. This is not curiosity. It is insecurity searching for leverage. Silence denies them that leverage. It creates asymmetry. You see them clearly while remaining partially unseen. That imbalance exposes intent faster than confrontation ever could. Those who are temporary fill the quiet with noise. Over-texting, over-explaining, sudden emotional confessions. They talk because they are afraid of what your silence might mean. They want reassurance that they still matter, that they still have access. But the one meant for you does not rush the gap. They don't assume absence is rejection. They don't interrogate your restraint. They interpret it. They understand that silence is not emptiness. It is information withheld on purpose. They listen to patterns instead of words. They watch behavior instead of demanding answers. Silence tests emotional discipline. Only those with internal stability pass it. There is power in not being fully available. Not because you are distant, but because you are selective. You speak when it matters. You respond when it adds value. You remain quiet when noise would weaken position. This unsettles people who rely on constant emotional feedback. They don't know where they stand with you, and that uncertainty reveals how much they depended on your reassurance to feel secure. Silence also sharpens you. You think before reacting. You observe before deciding. You stop explaining yourself to people who were never listening anyway. The moment you stop over-communicating, you reclaim authority over your presence. You become harder to predict, harder to manipulate, harder to rush. Those meant for you do not try to invade that space. They respect it. They match it. They don't confuse silence with punishment. They recognize it as control, as discernment, as strength, because they carry silence of their own. And if someone collapses under the weight of your quiet, understand this: they were never trying to understand you. They were trying to manage you. Emotion fades, not because you become cold, but because you become precise. You stop moving based on how things feel in the moment. You stop mistaking intensity for meaning. You replace reaction with rhythm. And that shift exposes everything. Most people live on emotional spikes. They need excitement to stay engaged. They confuse chaos with connection. When the feeling drops, so does their commitment. They call it losing the spark. What they really lost was stimulation. Structure removes that illusion. It does not chase feelings. It outlasts them. You become consistent. You move the same way on good days and bad ones. You don't disappear when energy is low. You don't overinvest when energy is high. You act according to systems, not moods. This unsettles people who rely on emotion to feel important. They can no longer manipulate you with urgency. They can no longer pull you off course with drama. Your predictability to yourself makes you unpredictable to others. The wrong ones push against this immediately. They try to inject intensity back into the dynamic. Sudden crises, manufactured urgency, emotional tests disguised as vulnerability. They want a reaction because reaction gives them influence. When they don't get it, they grow bored or resentful. They mistake your stability for disinterest. They say you've changed. You have. You stopped operating on impulse. The one meant for you doesn't resist structure. They respect it. They don't demand constant excitement to feel chosen. They understand that reliability is not dull. It is rare. They show up without being chased. They maintain presence without reminders. They value continuity over intensity. They don't try to interrupt your systems. They integrate into them. Structure creates safety for those who are aligned, and suffocation for those who aren't. When your life runs on systems, you stop negotiating standards in moments of weakness. You don't decide how to treat someone based on how lonely you feel that day. You don't overextend because emotions surged. You don't withdraw because emotion dipped. This consistency reveals character. Those who are only around when it feels good disappear. Those who understand long-term positioning remain. Structure also shifts power quietly. You are no longer reactive. You are no longer easily rushed. Time works for you instead of against you. People who depend on chaos feel exposed around you. They can't create leverage. They can't destabilize you to regain control. So they either adapt or exit. The one meant for you adapts without complaint. They see your discipline not as rigidity, but as direction. They trust where you're going because you're not swayed by every emotional wave. Emotion may start connection, but structure decides who stays. And if someone leaves when intensity is replaced with consistency, understand this: they were never committed. They were entertained. Independence changes the dynamic before anyone speaks. Not because you announce it, but because you no longer negotiate from need. You stop reaching for people to complete you. You stop arranging your life around their approval. You stop fearing loss as if it were death. And that shift rewrites the balance. Most people are comfortable only when they feel needed. Need gives them leverage. It allows them to withhold to threaten absence, to manipulate emotion. When you remove that need, they feel irrelevant. So they test you. They pull back to see if you chase. They create distance to provoke insecurity. They withhold affection to regain control. These tactics only work on dependency. Independence neutralizes them. You don't panic when someone pulls away. You don't rush to fix what hasn't broken. You don't bargain for attention. You observe. This composure unsettles people who rely on emotional hooks. They expect reaction, they get none. And in that gap, power shifts. The wrong ones feel exposed. They can't control your behavior with presence or absence. Your stability makes their tactics visible. So they escalate or disengage. They accuse you of being distant, cold, unavailable. What they mean is uncontrollable. The one meant for you reacts differently. Your independence does not threaten them. It refines them. They don't interpret your self-sufficiency as rejection. They see it as strength. They know you choose them, not because you need them, but because you respect them. This creates a rare dynamic. Two self-contained individuals sharing space without ownership. No clinging, no fear-based attachment, no silent contracts of emotional debt. Independence removes desperation from the equation, and desperation is where manipulation breeds. You no longer tolerate inconsistency just to avoid being alone. You no longer accept disrespect to preserve access. You are not afraid to lose what does not serve your direction. This forces others to reveal intent. Those seeking control leave. Those seeking alignment stay. Independence also sharpens your standards. You are not impressed by attention. You are not swayed by words. You evaluate behavior over time. The one meant for you does not rush intimacy to secure position. They allow trust to build without forcing dependency. They move beside you, not into you. Not into you. Leverage recognizes leverage. Power respects power. When neither of you needs the other to survive, every interaction becomes intentional. Every choice becomes cleaner. Every bond becomes voluntary. This is why independence is dangerous to the wrong people. They cannot anchor themselves in your insecurity. They cannot use fear of loss as a weapon. And if someone disappears when they realize you don't need them, understand this. They were never trying to stand with you. They were trying to stand over you. Power leaves you with a choice few are ready for: to be loved for your need, or respected for your strength. Those meant for you will never require your weakness to stay. They arrive when you are whole. They remain when you are firm. They stand because they choose to, not because they are afraid to fall. Here is the rule that ends the illusion. Those who must be convinced were never aligned. Those who stay without persuasion were never accidental. And remember this quietly, permanently. What is truly meant for you does not chase you, test you, or drain you. It recognizes you. And recognition never begs.